always, I'm one of your hosts, Craig Dram.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Josh.
Even though I realize that my name says my wife's name, although I'm on my computer. That's weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say your name's not Craig, it's Barbara.
Yeah, as I'm changing it mid-recording. So we're back, and we're doing an episode. Hence why we're all here talking. In this episode, each one of us chose one of our favorite anthology segments from a horror anthology movie. Not the whole film itself, but specifically one segment. And so that kind of rules out any season anthologies, which are
we should do.
Big. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do
Channel Zero. But
yeah, we should do another episode, TV horror anthologies at some point. But that's also a lot of, but whatever. We could go on and on if we're doing multiple seasons and shit.
Yeah, we'll do a whole audio commentary of just Tales from the Crypt for each episode.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
That would be fun.
That would be. I rewatch those a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, each one of us chose a segment, and we're just going to kind of talk about it, and then bring up other stuff as well throughout it. We're kind of doing a slow comeback into it. This is actually being recorded in May for anybody listening to it, because in June we will all be in Chicago helping Kyle work on his feature film that we've kind of been talking about over the last several episodes.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do a podcast while we're here. Who knows?
Yeah. We should actually do an audio commentary or something like that, or we can do it live.
Yeah, we should while we're all in the same place.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess how do we want to start, Josh? You want to start with yours since we were just talking about it before we were recording? I think yours is the most recent.
Yeah,
release.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is by far.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a hard thing for me to choose because I knew, like, going into any one of these things, I had like homework that I needed to do, and that translated into figuring this out. I went back and forth numerous times with numerous different things. I'm not even sure why I chose this. I think because I'd actually seen it not that long ago, and I find it very impactful, and it's more people should have seen it. What I'm getting at, because it works really well, and I'm gonna spoil the shit out of stuff, and it's a great kind of the character's been dead full time thing where that's kind of a tired trope, if you want to call it that, or tired device at any rate. But this movie does it really well. So what I'm referring to is 2017 British film Ghost Stories. That was written and directed by Jeremy Dyson and Andy Nyman, based on a stage play, funnily enough. And specifically, I chose the very first quote-unquote story. The film uses 3 separate stories as a narrative device. It's a feature film that is one story, but 3 separate stories. So it's kind of a fucking cheat, but whatever. Bottom line too is that that each one of them has like their own titles too, and the one I chose is just Case 1, Tony Matthews. Tony Matthews is just the character's name, who our lead character, who basically is a dick who likes to shamefully pull the rug out from under, psychics and people who claim to be clairvoyants, or people who claim to have had any supernatural experience. He essentially says, no, you're full of shit. This is what really happened. and he's kind of a dick about it. So Tony Matthews is the first time we see the first case that he is examining in Ghost Story. I chose this one because, as I said earlier, I saw this not too long ago, and I think this one really stuck with me the most because it's just fucking terrifying, and it's very simple. I think the thing with all of them are they're sort of simple, but in the case of the Tony Matthews one, the you're already the setting is already an abandoned insane asylum, and it's like, fuck, you don't even have to try, and that in and of itself is already effective. The shoot for the whole thing is at night, and it's just like, yeah, you don't even have to try, it's fucking there, it's already there. And they use that setting really well. You go in a lot of different areas of it, and of course it's fucking dark. Sound is amazing in it. There is a it's sort of jump scary, but it's due to sound. It's not necessarily due to a cat jumping out of nowhere or whatever stupid shit like that. So the sound really it scares the shit out of you, and in unison with the setting and the fact that there's clearly some supernatural shit going on. It's just very effective, and it really works. And yeah, it's just again, it's hard to describe because not a lot really happens, but it is simple, but it's not it doesn't make it any less effective, and it is kind of a master class in using a setting and sound, not a lot really going on, to be incredibly effective. So that's why I chose that one. I could have chosen 30 other things, but that one, even seeing it like 2 months ago, I think it was just really stuck with me, and should see it too.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out. I just don't remember. I remember vaguely, but I'm like, I do need to go back and rewatch because I feel like it was really good, and it has what we'll get into other horror anthologies, but that one partially probably is also a lot more effective because you got the same writer director doing the whole thing instead of like different teams for each little segment that never work out to be like a fully good film almost ever,
Yeah, and it was fascinating because both of them, Dyson and Nyman, I know what they were like, their childhood friends. Dyson did League of Gentlemen, basically was a British sketch troupe, but more like a horror sketch troupe in a way. And yeah, they're very horror themed to begin with, and you can really feel it because I think there's the one what is it, Woman in Black is a big influence of theirs.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't do as well over here, because there's so many parts where it feels what do you call it, like British horror, where there is kind of that. There's a lot of atmosphere. There's a lot of mood. There's not the flashiness that comes with
It's hard to understand every character.
But the mood is so much better and more important. It's like so much harder to just make a creepy mood without anything like overt. But that's like so much more effective because that's, Yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying right before we started recording, but the play itself is weirdly one of those that I think both are good, because I know sometimes it's hard back and forth, where a movie is hard to transfer into a play, or play is hard to transfer into a movie. and they're different in ways, but yeah, the ending really hits you a lot harder in a certain way that the movie doesn't. But I know it's now considered one of the up there with Woman in Black as one of the scariest stage plays ever made. And
So Woman in Black was started as a play too?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
What was it a book for? It might have been.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I know I still haven't watched the one from BBC. Yeah, I saw the Daniel Radcliffe one, but
yeah, Woman in Black was a novel from the 80s.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
And then I think it became a play, and then it became the BBC TV movie, and then they made a theatrical version in the 2010s or something.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah. But no, it's really good, and I think it probably helps too. Yeah, that it's the same writer director, but also that they're the ones who wrote the play, and they're the ones who directed and starred in the play as well. So they've basically been with it, since the very beginning.
Yeah.
And the thing too is like all three of the stories are really fucking good.
Yeah.
So I could have picked any of them, honestly. And the one I can't remember the dude's name now. The one actor who seemingly shows up in everything anymore nowadays.
Is it Martin Freeman? Yeah.
Yeah. So Martin Freeman is in the very last one, and that one is a little more. That one's a little more complicated as opposed to how I said earlier that the Tony Matthews one was real simple, and it's just very weird, and honestly I could have picked any of them, and the middle one is kind of like almost like a Lovecraftian bit, with a kid who is in a car, and of course it's dark, and he's in a fucking forest, and it's just like, again, you don't even have to try. That shit's already effectively terrifying as it is, and then you throw in some kind of fucking Lovecraftian monster or whatever. I don't remember. In preparation because I only rewatched the one I'm using, but I do. They're all of them are really good.
I agree. Yeah.
And it's too bad that the film kind of is relatively unknown. At least seems to me to be.
Yeah.
I don't know that these guys. To me, these guys should have been given, the keys to something else by now.
It seems like they would, and I know.
Unless for whatever reason they don't want to, but.
No, I think they do because I know. Yeah, they've been doing horror stuff for a long time. As actors or stuff. And Andy Nyman, I think he's won the, what's the big award? The Laurence Olivier Award. And
is that England. A British thing?
Yeah, they're very renowned, in that way.
Yeah.
But he's just one of those that, just for some reason hasn't really hit over here as much as. But over in the UK, both of them are kind of these big names. Yeah. So for the next one, I guess we'll go in reverse chronological order. I think it's
you. Yeah.
Yeah. I am doing from Creepshow 2, The Raft, which is the second segment. I chose this one specifically because, weirdly enough, this is my first memory. So my brother was watching this when I was like 3 years old, so it stuck with me. And I made a joke earlier, I think Kyle, about I'm still afraid to swim in lakes because it's as dumb as this segment is. Weirdly enough, there's elements that don't hold up well, but Creepshow 2. Creepshow in general was a throwback. That was George Romero, Stephen King were kind of doing a throwback to the old like Tales from the Crypt, the EC comics stuff, and they made Creepshow, and so then Creepshow 2 came out, and The Raft is a short story by Stephen King, and it's basically the whole thing is right before, or I guess it's right after college starts because it's already cold, getting cold. But these four college kids, two couples, decide to go out to this lake and go swimming. And it's a secluded lake. There's really no houses in sight. They're miles away from civilization in that sense. And they go and they swim out to this raft in the middle of the lake, and there's the blob type thing that then starts attacking them in a blob-like way. I mean, it's one that I don't think really needs to be spoiled. We can spoil it. It's not like
I think I think the whole plot of it spoils it. Like,
yeah.
4 kids get killed by a blob. I mean,
yeah. But yeah, and that's basically the whole thing. Is that then they're sitting in the middle of this lake on a raft, and the blob keeps going after them and dissolving their bodies. There's some good kills in it and creature stuff, and I know the blob itself was basically made with like trash bags.
And it looks like it. The effects are good though. Like the kills are actually good. It's just the blob in general just looks like whatever trash.
Yeah, that it's just trash that they were just pulling across slowly the lake. But yeah, I don't know, the parts that always stand out to me are when, I will say for a modern audience, it does not hold up well, because there's definitely like the scene where the jock girlfriend is sleeping after he's already been killed, and then the nerdy main character is basically sexually assaulting her. There's no he's kissing all over her body and stuff. There's no other way to phrase it. But then, as he gets to her face to kiss her because she's sleeping and he was supposed to stand watch at that point, she turns and the blob has kind of seeped through the boards of the raft and has her face. And then, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Tales from the Crypt, DC Comics, and Creepshow in general, so I guess it only made sense. I think it's definitely hard. There's like, we've seen a lot of, I think, anthologies overall, just in terms of being horror fans and as doing reviews for this. And it's hard to make, it almost feels like it's hard to make serious anthology or work as much, where like the comical ones hold up a little bit easier. I mean, we've definitely seen good serious ones, but I think Creepshow in general is just one of those that holds up well because it kind of has the joke about it. I mean, the whole movie itself also has one called Chief Woodenhead, which again is kind of the most racially sensitive episode, but still a lot of fun. And then it has the hitchhiker, or what's the
hitchhiker?
Where I think
it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, all 3 of them are good. I don't know if I'll say that.
Say it.
I was gonna say I might almost prefer Creepshow 2 over the first one, but I don't know if I want that on record. But
I mean, you got
dumb.
Yeah. One, you got the weird animated thing where that kid's like, the bullies are chasing that kid, and he's like, I want his ass. And you're just like, okay. That also doesn't age well.
Yeah. Not at
well,
all.
and speaking of the racial insensitivity, that also shows up in The Hitchhiker,
because it's
from the Stephen King character, no less.
Yeah.
You know, he's like Stephen King plays like a kind of truck driver, and like standing on the road as there was, some kind of accident, and the hitchhiker is an African American gentleman, and he's something out of his mouth like, yeah, it looked like a black guy, huh?
Yeah.
So
Nice.
It shows up pretty rampant in all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it didn't because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I finally decided to show it to my wife Barbara because normally I can get her to watch something easier if it has a comedic tone, and yeah, it didn't turn out as well. That was one of those things like, oh, I forgot all this stuff that's in it, but but yeah, it's if you push that to the back of your mind, I don't know, it's just dumb fun. I also like the Creepshow series on Shudder, so I think for the most part, I'm sure there's a couple of them that you can kind of, as with any anthology, you can take them or leave them. But and I think too, after or before we go into Kyle's, that after Kyle's feature film, that is one of the next things that the three of us are working into. So I don't know if it's something we should slowly talk. For those of you listening,
We should, yeah.
Yeah, that we are working on doing anthology type movie. Yeah.
And there's not gonna be. It's not gonna be chock full of racism.
No, not at all. Unless it's purposeful in order to make a statement.
Yes, or
say my segment might. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you might be inspired.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, so next up is Kyle. What did you?
Yes. So mine's definitely the oldest. I want to say, I don't know, late 60s, probably 67. So I picked, I could have picked a bunch too, and I almost picked one from Necronomicon, which is like a 90s anthology.
I should have done that too. Yeah,
I know.
I thought about that.
I can't find that anywhere. I think you can find it on YouTube.
It's hard to get.
Yeah.
I can send you a link because yeah, it's like not out there anywhere.
I have a different region. I have a different copy of it, and that's about all you can find.
That's it, yeah. And I ordered that, and then like someone stole it from my door or something because it just never arrived, and I got my money back, but I was like, God damn it.
And now they're just enjoying it.
No, they're not. Like 100%.
They have an all-region player.
100%. These junkies out here don't have a region player. They're just like, what the fuck is this? But my pick. So I picked Toby Dammit, which is a segment from anthology called Spirits of the Dead, which was, I can't remember who the original people were. It was a different. It was supposed to be 3 different directors, but it ended up being Fellini, Roger Vadim, and then maybe Truffaut. I don't know who directed the other one, but so it's like 3 European directors, like more art house directors, doing this horror anthology, for lack of a better term, and it's obviously not like super intense or anything. But this segment that Fellini did. I had heard of because of Dario Argento and different people saying they were a fan of it, and I was like, "What is this? I've never heard of it." And it's about a kind of stereotypical self-destructive actor of that period who's in Italy to do some movie, and then also like be on a TV show and give out some award at like almost the Italian like Academy Awards. It's not really specific what it is, and he really only went on the trip because they're like gonna give him like a free Ferrari or something as part of that's like how he's getting paid. But it's kind of implied that it's not explicitly stated, but it's like implied that part of his fame that he's being like followed by the devil, and like clearly there's some kind of Faustian deal to for him to be famous or successful. But just the vibe of the whole thing is weird. Like, the color of it is super weird. So it's like starts when he arrives in this airport in Rome, and it's like everything is like orange. It's like dusky, but like a hellish dusk. Not realistic. I mean, it's very interesting, and like I recommend you guys watch it. It's on Criterion. But it also feels like it's I feel like David Lynch just has to see this, because so the devil is played by like a little girl, but she's got like almost white pancake makeup. Like she looks like one of the characters from some of like David Lynch's shorts. I think I'm thinking of The Alphabet as the one. You know, one of the ones where it's like it's in color, but everyone's skin is like white, and everyone just looks creepy as fuck. That's the vibe. And I don't know. I'm not gonna give away how it ends, but it's just really interesting because it's almost a character piece that's a horror movie, but it's you know an interesting filmmaker who I don't think he did anything else that's horror related at all, really. But it's one of those ones that it's just really the mood of it. Like it's not super scary or anything, but it also is probably kind of effective in a way too because it's that stranger in a strange land because like he ends up in Italy and this is then and like he doesn't speak Italian and he's just got all these people coming up to him because he's famous. You know, everyone like wants him to do something or wants to be a part of him, and he doesn't give a shit and he clearly doesn't even like believe in himself anymore. He feels like a phony, and the devil is like following him, and it's good. It's interesting. So 2 thumbs up. But if you want to watch it, it's on Criterion Channel. I'll give you my login if you want it. And you can just watch that. It's its own feature if you just want to watch that. Because it's like 45 minutes.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And Kyle is saying he's offering his login info to Josh and myself.
And all of you viewers.
Yeah, you may as well just give it to
I mean, whatever. Communism, baby. I'm not really a proponent of it. Except for logins.
Yeah. No, it sounds good. I think one of those. So I was thinking we could end with talking about, because I know that we are going to, as we've talked about before, and anybody who's listened to us or watched us, we've kind of discussed anthologies, the ones we like a lot throughout. But I was surprised because Josh, I thought you were going to choose Southbound. I thought if I had to pick one, I was like, that was one of the ones where I was going to, or there was one other one where I was trying to think of.
I thought about Southbound. I think the one of them that I thought of that I was the closest to going with was from Tales of Halloween.
Okay.
But I don't know. Again, I could have gone with so many. Yeah. There's shit that I in this researching stuff that I forgot about.
Yeah.
That'd be good, but I only pick one, so.
I will say it's very comedic, but a recent one that I really liked, a segment specifically, was the scare package, the goo one. I can't even think of it.
Oh, yeah, which they're in the woods, right? I mean, it's a ripoff of the Raft.
Yeah.
I
just all of the anthologies are like related.
Craig just likes goo.
Yeah.
I will say we didn't mention it, but I do have to say, like, I rewatched The Raft just because Craig picked that or whatever, and I had time. As funny as it is, though, like, I do feel like The Raft is like the effects and the kills feel like pretty intense for what it is. Like, and it's very like goofy, but like when people do get killed, it seems pretty fucking awful. And you're just like, oh Jesus! Like the effects in themselves are good.
Because I think Greg Nicotero is.
I think
he's the guy.
It's either him or Savini or both of them. Yeah. Because Savini definitely did the first one.
Yeah,
it's one or the other. Or anytime you have Romero working on something, especially in the fucking 80s, no.
But for those of you listening, what's your favorite segment from an horror anthology? Which I know there's kind of been a little bit of a revival, I feel like, lately, but overall. And then you have the television ones, which are episodic or even, I haven't actually I'm guilty of not watching American Horror Story, but I know that
Guilty.
still could...
That show sucks.
Yeah.
I'll fucking fight anyone that likes it right now.
As being polite to that. I highly recommend instead of American Horror Story, Channel Zero or
yeah.
Even Slasher wasn't great, but it was dumb fun in part, or a couple of them. I think there was. I don't know. That's the hard part with the season ones because it's like with Tales from the Crypt or something like that, where if the episode's not good, you can kind of be like, oh well, it's just one episode. Where if the season story in general isn't good, then it turns you off the whole show.
Yeah. We should do an episode on horror TV anthologies, but we should also just cover like Channel Zero because we could just do like a little episode on each season or something.
Yeah, which there's only 4.
Yeah, and we've all seen it,
we'll,
so
yeah, and we'll do a whole segment of Kyle watching.
Horror
Story.
And yeah, it'll just be screaming, and then we pan over to see it's just me watching American Horror Story, and no one's dying. I'm just dying inside. I heard the first season was good. I'll give it that. And I haven't watched that, but everything else that I watched was like terrible. And I skipped to whenever it was done or something. At some point I watched like season 5 because they were in that hotel where the girl ended up in the water tank. But it's a famous hotel in LA that's like super run down, and like the Night Stalker stayed there when he was like on the run. And they did a whole season like set in there, and it was about like serial killers and stuff, and it was still lame. Like I was like, oh, this sounds interesting, and it was not.
Okay. Yeah. The only one I watched, I think because of our roommates when we were out in LA, were watching I don't even know what season. It was the season with the witches.
Right.
Season that was.
Yeah.
That's the only one, and I can't even tell you what happened. I know Jessica Lange.
Great actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has good cast. It has what's his name? John Carroll Lynch.
Yeah.
Was in a couple of them.
Yeah.
He's also
in
Channel Zero. He's really good in that.
Ian McShane did like an episode.
Yeah.
They had a lot of good people, but yeah. I'm also just prejudiced because I had theater friends that like loved it, and they knew nothing about horror movies. And they like hated horror, and they were like, oh my god, the show is so brilliant and amazing. And I was like, this episode's just ripping off this or that, whatever, you know? And I'm still angry about it. I'm not over it.
It's the new season that has the Kardashians.
Oh, God.
One of them. I don't know.
Oh.
I know that because anytime I turn on Hulu.
Yeah, they tell you about it.
Yeah. Hey, come on, Craig, watch us. That's what okay, so yeah, we're going to, I think, slowly start now that, again, next month we will all be in Chicago filming, and hopefully we're going to record then, but it's going to become more regular again because a lot of our obligations are all kind of external obligations are coming to an end. So yeah. Keep with us for those of you that have been listening periodically throughout, and yeah, again, send us what your favorite anthologies were, even just the movie itself, and what you would like to see in the future. Let's talk about. Yeah. So is that all of?
I think that's it.
Anybody else have a last thing besides don't choose something? Choose Channel Zero over American Horror Story. Is our big leaving on that note? But anyways, thank you for listening, and see ya.
Adios.
Bloodhound Pix podcast is
Produced by Josh Lee, Craig Drum, and Kyle Hintz. Music by Raymond Seed. Editing by Kyle Hintz.